So how do you get yourself to do the things that you already know you need to do, but you're putting off for some reason? That's the very definition of procrastination, but the flip side of it is the very definition of self-discipline. If you've got enough self-discipline, that's really the key to unlock everything that you've been trying to unlock in your life. Because if you want a better body, it's going to require more discipline. If you want a better business and you want to make more money, it's going to require more discipline. If you want a better marriage, that is actually going to require more discipline too. And I know most people don't think discipline and marriage in the same thing, but I've found it to be true in my own. If you want a better connection with God, that's also going to require a great degree of self-discipline. It is one of the primary traits that is going to make you ultimately successful, however you choose to define your success. So the question is, how do you get yourself to do the things that you know you need to do and actually have the discipline of follow through? The first thing you need to understand is that self-discipline, it's basically like a muscle. We've all got this idea in our heads of what a muscle looks like and what a muscle can do. You probably worked out at least once or twice in your life, and you recognize that the bigger the muscle gets, the more weight that it can ultimately lift. So think of your self-discipline the exact same way that you would think about like a bodybuilder going to build big arms and a big chest and big back and big legs and calves and everything, is that they don't start out doing the heaviest weight. They work themselves up to it because they know that the more that they work, the more work they put in, they're going to be able to gradually lift more and more and more weight because their muscles are going to be prepared to shoulder the weight of that. This principle right here is one of the primary reasons why I see people fail, where they're starting out on something like all full of fire. I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. Never mind that I haven't been there for the past 3 years. These are the types of things that they'll make commitments on. They go for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they fall off. It's simply because they haven't exercised their self-discipline muscle enough to actually work out their regular muscles that often. So you've got to build up more and more. And the best way that I've found to do this is with a concept that I call discomfort training. Discomfort training is your version of the lightest weight that you can get at the gym. It's taking these small little actions that push you just a little bit outside of your comfort zone, which starts to flex your self-discipline muscle, and you'll build it up gradually over time. And these are really small actions that you can build into bigger actions. So let's say that you were trying to get healthier and you wanted to drink more water. A discomfort training action would be to drink 1 extra cup of water that you otherwise wouldn't have drinking. You will be a little bit uncomfortable. You'll have to stand up and go to the bathroom more often, but that's discomfort training. You could also do a live video on social media. If you post videos a lot, but you don't ever do them live, you could do a live video, and a live video will pull you into a place of discomfort, which again is going to train your self-discipline muscle. I know there are a lot of people that struggle with waking up early, and right now they're waking up about 6:30 in the morning, but they want to wake up at 4:30. You don't just jump from 6:30 to 4:30. You've got to flex the muscle a little bit in order to get there. It took me a while to start waking up at 4:30. I would usually wake up at 6:30. Then what I did was this process where I would go wake up 10 minutes earlier each day. And that got me to the spot where I was waking up at 4:30. I was building the muscle of getting up earlier and flexing that self-discipline in order to pull that off. You can't go from 0 to 100 right away, just like you can't go from 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. right away. You could also start recording a podcast before you feel like you're actually ready for it. Podcasts are a great way to flex your self-discipline muscle when it comes to the publishing space because they're all recorded. So if you start recording it, you're actually going to be building up this self-discipline muscle without any real risk, because doing a live video, like I mentioned a minute ago, there's risk involved in that. People could actually see it. But when it comes to recording a podcast, it's up to you if you decide to publish that or not. So what do you do if you're even struggling to take the smallest action? If that feels like it's even too big to start to flex the self-discipline muscle, because there are people that drive by the gym all the time and never once go in based on this exact same principle. It seems like the first step is even too hard. What this is going to require is it's going to require you to use really what's an ancient technique that's been popularized by some modern day coaches. But the way that this ultimately came down was from a book called the Hagakure, which was in the 1500s, and it was the Samurai Warrior Field Manual. So they had samurai warriors in Japan, and this was their field manual. And one of the principles inside of this Hagakure book is called the Samurai Seven Breaths, which states that every action that you are going to take needs to be taken within the span of 7 breaths, or at least started within the span of 7 breaths. And so when you think about this, is a really short timeline to give yourself. Because every time there's something in front of you, you really have 2 different versions of yourself that are fighting to make the decision. One of those is based on emotion, which is the one that tells you it's going to be too hard, that you just won't be able to make it. It's not going to work out. Like whatever your dominating story is the one that's driven by emotion. The second version of you that's fighting to get to the decision first and own that decision is logical, which knows that you're really capable and all you need to do is stack on thing A, thing B, and thing C. And if you do that successfully, you're ultimately going to be successful inside of that action. What happens though is that when there's a decision to be made, both these versions of you race towards making the decision. Whichever one gets there first gets the right to make the decision. Now, here's the deal. Logic will get there every time as long as you don't hesitate. When you hesitate, then that allows emotion to creep in. And when emotion creeps in, most of the time you make a decision that doesn't serve the future version of you. It's just the version today because you want to stay in comfort. So ultimately, if you take the action, or at least start taking the action within the span of 7 breaths, then that is going to get you going to the very lowest level of exercising your self-discipline muscle. And what you're going to find is that over time, this is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, just like any bodybuilder would. And you're going to be able to do things that were once impossible for you, now are things that are just a normal way of going about it. There was once a time in my life where waking up at 4:30 in the morning would have been impossible. To think especially that I was going to go work out at 5 o'clock in the morning also would have been impossible. But it became possible because my discipline got to a level where it is right now, where I can get myself to do the hard things. So you got all the tools inside of this video that you need in order to pull off to build self-discipline. You just need to now go out and practice it. So stop watching the video now and go practice.